the truth has finally been leaked as the veterans for the Golden State Warriors have spoken up about exactly how they want the Johnathan Kuminga saga to end and how they want the 2025-2026 NBA season to begin. What's going on, everybody? I'm Houston, but you're watching Warriors Digest. As you can probably tell, we're not in the typical setup. I'm actually traveling, but that does not mean that we're going to stop bringing you guys everyday content. So, first things first, I want to remind you guys to hit that subscribe button. Around 2/3 of you guys that watch these videos are not subscribed. Super simple. Go down below, hit the subscribe button, turn on notifications to make sure you guys never miss out on a video. It doesn't cost you anything. It's free. All it does is remind you guys when we drop videos on the channel, especially at this time of the year where there was so much news to be broken down, and this Johnathan Kuminga situation is sort of on red alert. We're at the point where any time, any day, any moment, this Johnathan Kuminga situation could be resolved. But we got some news today on the veterans for the Golden State Warriors and exactly what they want to have happen. The big three, which is no longer Steph, Clay, and Dre like it always used to be, even KD for all those years, but Steph, Draymond, and Jimmy Butler. What exactly do they think about the Johnathan Kuminga situation? Well, first things first, Steph, Jimmy, and Draymond, they all want Johnathan Kuminga back on the Warriors and believe he can help them compete. Now, this is a team, or I should say this is a big three of a lot of talent, but more important than that, a lot of veteran ability to understand what a young player can bring to the table. You usually see with a lot of these guys at this point in their career, they've done what they can do. They are at the point to their max potential. Draymond, Steph, and Jimmy probably all past their primes. If you want to say Dre and Steph, it was around that 2016 season, even though Steph's potential for what he can do on the basketball floor is still incredibly high. Probably not to the level it was in 2016. And then, of course, Jimmy Butler, you probably want to say the 2020 bubble finals was his max as well. So now you're at the point where you have to, from a veteran leadership standpoint, start to understand how do we develop the guys under us. And we're at the point now where it seems like JK is leaning in a direction which is not going to benefit the Warriors heavily. Steph, Dre, and Jimmy stepping in a little bit here and saying, hey, we got to find a way to get this done because the potential for what this team can be is massive if JK sticks around. And we've got many other reports coming out from today as well. One of the most important ones from Brett Siegel is over the last few weeks, the Warriors veterans, Curry, Green, and Butler, have all communicated with the Dubs brain. They trust that they will get a deal done. All three stars want Kuminga back on the roster. His athleticism, durability, and production can't be replicated. Johnathan Kuminga has incredible athleticism, and he's just 22, so he brings something to the table that these older guys simply do not. And if they lose Kuminga, his void will be felt throughout the 82-game season because he is a guy, unlike the other players on the Warriors roster, that can come off of the bench or be a starter and immediately have an impact. And what you get a little bit worried about is when you start to see things like this. He wants a chance to start the night and finish every single night. This is from Aaron Turner, Kuminga's agent, who spoke yesterday with several members of Dub Nation to throw his thoughts into the atmosphere. It seems like Johnathan Kuminga wants to be a starter, and it seems like the relationship with Steve Kerr isn't at a point where it's bad. It's not detrimental to Johnathan Kuminga's development, even though that might be what he and his agent will claim, but it certainly feels like he's not a consistent starter on this team. If we sign Melton, if we sign Horford, I think it's going to be Steph, Melton, Jimmy, Dre, Horford. That seems like it's 100% going to be the starting lineup. So you start to wonder, okay, if Horford doesn't start, maybe Kuminga fills that role, maybe Melton doesn't, and we don't have as much spacing on the floor when we bring Kuminga onto the team. It just doesn't feel like there's a spot for Kuminga to be a starter on this current roster, especially if these other guys get signed as well. But you see this. Kuminga has massive respect for all of them. He really respects Jimmy. He likes how Jimmy moves around, and specifically, he knows that Jimmy has talked to Kuminga, but Draymond is a guy that's always been behind him. So it feels like there's no drama behind the scenes as far as the roster and the player construction goes. It's specifically from a GM and ownership standpoint in communication with Kuminga where there has been struggles. And we saw more reports come out from Aaron Turner and as well as Brian Windhorst that Kuminga feels like he's now preparing to accept the $7.9 million qualifying offer unless the Warriors improve their offer soon and add that player option for the third season. If this happens, Kuminga would officially become an unrestricted free agent in 2026 under this scenario. So this is dangerous if you're a Warriors fan because this essentially confirms the belief that Johnathan Kuminga is going to sign the qualifying offer. He's going to try and ball out throughout the season, but do it all for himself, not really with the commitment of understanding that he wants the team to win, because guess what? He's not going to be here next year anyway. The summer comes around next season. He's an unrestricted free agent. It's unlikely he signs with the team. He's probably shipped elsewhere to ensure that he gets the minutes and the productivity that he actually wants. And Johnathan Kuminga has heard from other teams beside the Kings and Suns during free agency. Those were the two teams that we specifically broke down that reached out through to Kuminga over the last couple of months. But it seems like there are several other teams that are interested in his capabilities as well. And it makes sense. I mean, Johnathan Kuminga is a fantastic player. He has a massive opportunity to be a star in this league. But as we've talked about in previous videos on the channel, it just feels like the pros of sticking with Golden State significantly outweigh the cons from my perspective. Now, if you're Johnathan Kuminga, maybe you say, okay, I can go somewhere else. I get, put in a sign and trade position. Then I can go to another team where I'm making more money than I would with the Warriors, unless it's a sign and trade, in which case the contract gets shipped over and the Warriors somehow agreed to pay him a little bit more money. But he's also a starter, and he is a guy that's starting on the floor and he's finishing on the floor every single night, which at this point in his career, it seems like truthfully what Johnathan Kuminga in his heart and soul wants. Now, it's not that there's no possibility that he returns to the team and he commits. And, even from reports a couple of days ago, it sounded like, hey, if we can find a way to flip this team option to a player option in the third year, Johnathan Kuminga is coming back to the team. He's committing to the organization. He's committing to the mission of winning another championship. But now you have these reports from Aaron Turner, his agent, yesterday, to members of Dub Nation of, hey, this is going in a direction that doesn't feel like the productivity and the minutes standpoint that the Warriors have expectations for aligns with what Kuminga and his camp have expectations for. That's what he explicitly said was, hey, he was asked, hey, does it feel like the missions are aligned from a player standpoint and from this is what your role is going to be on the team standpoint? Aaron Turner explicitly said no. It's not at a same position. And obviously it's difficult because even Turner talked about this, that the timelines of where the Warriors are at from a depth perspective and from where they want to be in the summer of 2027 significantly is different and in contrast to what Johnathan Kuminga's contract could look like if they pay him a little bit more money and give him a player option. So many options now are arriving on the table, and it just comes down to Kuminga and his camp. Who's going to blink first? Are the Warriors going to offer him this player option and tell him to stick around? Or are they going to say, hey, we'll just give you the qualifying offer. We hope you try and ball out for the team and do it from a winning perspective and allow us to get productive throughout the season minutes from you, and then ultimately that gives us the opportunity to be a contending team come May, come June, come those playoff times where you really got to put it into a second gear. And it feels like from the playoffs perspective last season with Kuminga, even towards that Timberwolves series, he never really had a chance to get into a major rhythm. He had a couple of big nights throughout the playoffs, but nothing where it felt like, okay, Johnathan Kuminga understands his role from a true identity perspective. It felt like Johnathan Kuminga would be one thing one night and a completely opposite thing the other night. And it feels like more often than not, it contributed to negative, I don't want to say ball hoggish because it's so detrimental to Kuminga's character, but not doing the things that he needed to do to sacrifice and win for his team. Rebounding, playing hard on the defensive side of the ball, and doing the intangibles that are something that come fundamentally to a lot of players on the basketball court, which aren't things that come fundamentally to Johnathan Kuminga, like making good decisions in the clutch, having an understanding of the defensive side of the ball, and not turning the ball over. Those are three things that Kuminga significantly struggled with. The shot selection has been poor over the years. It feels like when he's committed to, hey, I'm going to be a slasher, I'm going to get into the lane, I'm going to work well on pick and roll, and I'm going to knock down three-point shots from the corner when I have the opportunity to, that's when Kuminga's been at his best. Now, it seems like from Aaron Turner, he's saying, hey, Johnathan Kuminga's developed a lot over the last 4 years. He doesn't want to be that role guy anymore. He wants to be a starter on the floor, and he wants to finish games, and it looks like it's possible that that's going to happen elsewhere. But if you ask these guys, if you ask Steph and Dre and Jimmy, they'll tell you, no, we don't feel like Johnathan Kuminga's time in the Bay Area is over. We want him back because we understand the potential for what he can be for this team next season. And if he does come back, and if he buys in, and maybe the player option is given because the Warriors blink a little bit and they give a slight pull less off of the rope to Johnathan Kuminga, then all of a sudden, the potential for what this team can be is limitless. The sky is the limit. If you bring back Johnathan Kuminga, you say, hey, commit to being a sixth man off the bench. We'll pay you the money that you're expecting to be paid. And all of a sudden, it feels like this Warriors team is in a place where they can make other moves. The dominoes can start to fall. You get to training camp. You get to October 1st, and then all of a sudden you get to October 21st, that first game against the Lake Show. The rotation is in sync. Johnathan Kuminga's happy. Steph, Dre, and Jimmy are happy. The organization, the front office is happy. And the sky's the limit for this Warriors team. What do you guys think? Do you want to have Johnathan Kuminga stick around? Are you tired of this saga like I know many of Dub Nation players, and not players specifically, but members are? Are you exhausted of wondering exactly what Steph Curry and Jimmy and Dre and these other guys are thinking? Are you exhausted of wondering where Johnathan Kuminga's headspace is at? Well, I can promise you this. If you are tired, if you are exhausted, if you are wondering what this is going to turn into, if you're on the edge of your seat waiting and waiting and waiting, I can assure you and promise you that this situation will be resolved soon, and we will break it all down right here on the channel. And until then, we're going to keep making these videos. We're going to keep giving you each and every single detail to ensure that you are fully educated and up to date on the situation, so when that news does arrive, that we are getting the announcement that Johnathan Kuminga is sticking around, or he's being shipped off to Phoenix or Sacramento or elsewhere. We will have it all for you, and you will be ready to be a Dub Nation member, rocking the blue and yellow, getting ready to be a member of the Bay Area from wherever you're at, whether it's like me out here in Nebraska, well, not right now because I said I'm traveling, or you're a member back home in California. Hey, maybe you're on the East Coast, a Dub Nation member all the way out there somehow. It's a time for unity, and it's a time for, hey, we're a month out from the start of the season. It's go time. Let's figure it out from a front office standpoint. Let's pay Kuminga what we have to get him on the team and have him committed, or you got to put your foot down and you got to cut ties. Whatever we end up doing, we will cover it all right here on the channel. I'm Houston Bo. You guys have been the fans. Thank you so much for tuning in. And of course, as always, go Dubs. Peace.